Hello again. In this video I'll be covering Choong Moo Tul, which is the 9th pattern of 24 patterns in Taekwondo. So I'll have Alex Nardizzi helping out today. We're going to cover Choong Moo Tul, and all the movements that are in the pattern have been covered in previous lessons. So take a look at lesson number 70, the previous lesson, which had some preparatory techniques for the pattern. Okay, so you start with a parallel ready stance, and then you do L stance, twin knife hand block. So this one should be covering your head. Big mistakes to bring it forward too much, so have it further back, and this is shoulder high. Second movement, as I explained in the previous lesson, is a front strike. So this hand is in front of your forehead, a little bit like a rising block. This one is eye level. Next move, knife hand guarding block, and then a flat fingertip thrust. So all the techniques are with a hand open, and then you do a knife hand guarding block. Okay, all hands open. Okay. And most of the guarding blocks in this pattern are with a knife hand, but later on, after the back kick, there'll be one with a forearm. Now you do bending ready stance, so you just pivot, yeah? Pivot. There is a common mistake in this situation. So go back to L stance. Very often people extend the rear leg too far, like that. See, the leg is almost extended and reached out. Okay? And then they pull in after, all right? So avoid doing that. From there, you should just lift the foot off the ground and then pick it up, okay? Like that. Then the next move is a side kick with a punch, sine wave, knife hand guarding block. So now is where you do the flying side kick, as I showed you in the previous lesson. So you take a step, and then you jump and flying side kick, and then you land in knife hand guarding block. So do that again, and then continue to the next move. Then you pivot, L stance, low block. You're used to doing low block in walking stance, but in this one it's L stance. So now, you're going to reach to grab the opponent. So you move the front foot back forward, and you've got to extend the arms fully, because you're grabbing the back of the head, like that, not the shoulder, you're grabbing the back of the head. Okay, I remember General Che correcting me on this. He extended my arms fully. I had the elbows slightly back. So you've got to reach as far as you can without moving forward. Now, here, when you do the knee upward kick, like in Choong Moo, it's the same thing. You put your feet together. You do not pivot until your feet are together. So you kick and pull back. That's it. Feet together. So then you pivot and then you do a front strike. Make sure the thumb's tucked out the way, eye level, and remember the hand comes in. Okay, so now you're ready to do another combination, turning kick, high turning kick followed by a middle back kick. But again, you need to bring the feet together, okay, before you pivot on the back kick. Now this is a very common mistake. I've actually seen people win world championships doing this pattern incorrectly. It's a very common mistake where they pivot. So you turn the foot down, now your foot is 45 degrees out, and you put your feet exactly together, then you pivot and do the back kick. Hold it there, so you hold it, the toes are down, you look behind. You look behind, you straighten the leg, like that. Then you do sine wave guarding block, and this is a forearm guarding block. The only forearm guarding block, all the rest were knife hand. Okay, so that turning kick, back kick is done in fast motion. So do it again. So from the low block. Fast motion, 1, 2, sine wave, sine wave. Keep your arms naturally in front of your chest as you do the turning kick. Now you do a middle turning kick. Again, it's to the side front. So you're doing a turning kick here. But for the third time in this little sequence here, you've got to put your feet together before you pivot. So you're doing a turning kick here, there, keep it there. Your balancing foot is 45 degrees out. So when you put your feet together, it's 45 degree angle. And then you do a U-shaped block in fixed stance. So now you do the 360 degree aerial spin, landing in L stance knife and guiding block like I showed you in the previous lesson. Go. Okay. Then you do an upset fingertip thrust, followed by a back fist strike with a low block, but you slip the front foot back. You don't use sign. So you're in this position here, and you just pull back. You drag the front foot in, you pivot the rear foot, and then you do a back fist strike like that. So from here, just pull back like that. And this is a low block, not a reaction. Go. Okay. So this arm has to be completely vertical, eye level, completely vertical. And then you do a straight fingertip thrust, showing the downward blow. Okay? So you notice it's got all the fingertip thrusts. Earlier on you do flat fingertip thrust, now you're doing straight fingertip thrust, just previously you did upset fingertip thrust. They're all there in this pattern. Now you pivot on the front foot and you do double forearm block. So it's eye level, like all color belt patterns have double forearm block as a high technique. Only when you get to a black belt patterns that sometimes you do mid. Now you do the front block, like I showed you in the previous lesson. So you're in sitting stance front block, and then you do a back fist strike, make sure the palms are down, back fist strike afterwards. Now this counts as movement 24 in the pattern. There are 30 movements, but really they're 31 because this one and the back fist count as one movement. I don't know why, but that is movement 24. Now you do two side kicks, middle side kicks with a punch. So turn, kick and punch, kick and punch. Now you put your foot down naturally. You put your foot down naturally, not into an L stance length, slightly shorter, it's about a shoulder width, roughly. And then you go into X knife hand checking block. X knife hand checking block should be 15 degrees out, don't go 45, okay? Because you're doing this technique, as it says in the book, towards B. Your L stance towards B, and your X knife hand is towards B as well. It's not to the side front, okay? It's slightly out to block a punch, and then you grab it and grab, you see, you can do that. Okay, so it's 15 degrees out, okay? In L stance, shoulder height. Okay? So now you step forward, twin palm upward block. Okay, I explained this in the previous lesson. So you should have a gap between your elbow and rib cage. I could just slot my four fingers there, and the gap is there. Now you do a spot turn. Step in, turn, rising block. The spot turn is like in Dosan, going to the third movement. And then you do a punch in walking stance. Now notice from the rising block, go back, this arm doesn't pull back straight away. You relax, yeah? Extend, and pull. So you're pulling from here. A common mistake is to pull it round from there. You extend, go. Okay. Now, in the first 8 patterns you did in Taekwondo, you always go back to, say you moved with one leg, you bring it back. In the next 8 patterns, including this one, you don't bring the foot you just moved back. You carry on going onto that foot. So here you go forward to ready stance, and that's how you return to the position. Right, let's go back to the 2 side kicks. After the 2 side kicks, so you've done right then left. So you do 2, yeah. So 2 side kicks, 1 and 2. You step naturally, like I said. So when you go to L stance to do the X knife and checking block, this foot should be roughly in line where you started. Yeah? So if you started here, it will be a little bit on that side, but the foot is roughly down the middle. And if you do that and you continue, you will end up in the same place. So when you pivot, you see, so you're in the same place. Okay? But just check it. Okay? All right, so that concludes the pattern.